So we want to welcome everybody to our podcast. We specifically do this for our marketing group that's on LinkedIn. Really, the goal of it is to kind of introduce new members to other members and kind of get some insight regards to what it is that they're doing in their world to bring it to the next level. So today we have Shannon Curley with us, and I want to kind of introduce myself. My name is Chris, and this is my younger sister, Alicia.
Yes, younger sister.
Yes.
Alicia?
So as Shannon, you want to take a couple minutes to kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little about you and kind of go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Shannon Curley. I'm currently the director of marketing for Carbon 6, which is a SaaS startup out of Toronto. We actually just were acquired a couple months ago by SPS Commerce, a global retail network. But I've been in the e-commerce and SaaS space for the last, saying it out loud, 10 years now. So I've been doing it for a while, but have spent most of that time actually in remote work, even pre-pandemic. So I've been in the remote space for a long time, managing marketing teams and building go-to-market teams.
That's awesome. I love learning people's stories. And as the director of marketing, how did you get hooked on the marketing bug and kind of land at Carbon 6 and take us through that journey, because everyone's journey into marketing is so different. Some people started in marketing as their career their degree. Other people kind of just fell into it through a different role. So take us on your journey.
Or dragged into that, for that matter.
Oh yeah, Chris got dragged in.
I definitely fall more into the second camp of just kind of ended up there. I actually went to school for English literature, big reading nerd. So I originally, I didn't want to be a teacher. That's what most people assume that you're going to do when you're an English literature major, is go teach. I thought I was going to be in publishing for a little while, again, related to reading. But where I actually got my start in my career was at Hasbro Toys. I'm from Rhode Island. I interned there my senior year of college and then ended up getting a temp role there. I did temp role, I did a full-time role, I did contract, I did every role you can have at Hasbro, actually. But when I was there, I was in a writing writer role. So at that time, it really just meant we were writing all of the copy for all of our packaging, writing the copy for instructions, writing the copy for e-commerce, just writing a lot of copy. And it was great. It was really cool being able to be super involved in established brands. My flex is that I worked on all of the boys, quote unquote, big heavy air quote, but boys licensed brands. Okay. And so I got to work with Star Wars and Marvel and Power Rangers and Jurassic Park, which was great.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what toys? I have young kids, so how I explain marketing is we create things that make kids buy things or make their parents buy things, but you actually do that.
I did that. Yeah. Yeah. And it was cool because it was my first job out of college. And so a lot of it was just learning how to be a human in the workplace. Yep. But then as I sort of leveled up through that, being able to have more of a voice in, planning the ways that we talked about the different toys, the different cut characters, the different brands. But where I kind of hit my limit there was realizing that those brands already existed. And so there was really a limitation to what I could do. And if you're a nerd and you are a Star Wars nerd in particular, then you know that you cannot break canon. It's not canon, that it is not acceptable. And so my whole role was having to stay within canon. And for me, that was just a ceiling. I was like, I want to write my own stories. I want to create my own stories. I don't want to just be working within other universes and other worlds. Mm-hmm. So from there, I ended up leaving Hasbro and going to a content marketing agency in Boston. And it was a big leap for me because a lot of what I was doing at Hasbro was just basically writing brand stories. And then going into this content marketing company was a lot more about the full scale strategy. So it's not just writing the deliverable, but actually thinking about how are we going to apply this long term. And what I really got into there was the idea of creative strategy. And I'm kind of obsessed with that because I love research, which, ties back into the English literature thing. I love reading. I love doing research. I love understanding characters. And when I was in that role, I ended up creating my own job basically as part of the pre-sale function. And so I started joining all these pre-sale calls, bringing in all this research I'd done about various industries. And then that was how we were getting clients to buy into the whole content marketing strategy. We did really, really good research. So we're not just pitching to you as we have a good product, but we're pitching to you as we have a good product and we really understand what it is that your audience is looking for. Yeah. So that sort of then continues to transfer over. You can see all of the lines absolutely. Here, the overlaps. I did briefly during COVID. I was laid off like so many other people, and I ended up working at a hotel for a year in St. Croix in the Caribbean.
Oh wow!
So that was my career gap year, was a year managing a hotel, which was crazy. But amazing, and actually taught me so many things about the importance of like understanding different personality types, and the customer's always right, and other fun things that you learn working in hospitality. And then after that, I was kind of dove full force into the Amazon and the e-commerce space. I had some connections through networking that, recommended a couple different companies to me, and that's how I really got deeply involved in Amazon. And I worked at Thrasio, which was a company that acquired Amazon brands and then basically tried to optimize them. Yeah. So you would take an existing product, and then the whole crux was like, how can we tell a better story? Because the things you buy on Amazon are usually pretty boring. Yeah. Like you're buying doggy bags or you're buying dish detergent. Like, how do you make that exciting? So a lot of the role there was like taking boring things and adding more story and more narrative to them. And then finally, in my role as director of marketing at Carbon 6, I've taken all of that experience and turned it into building this startup where we had 18 different tools that we were selling at some point that we needed to get into market and really crack into the Amazon seller community, which is a very, very specific niche community. So that's my journey, and it's gone and taken all kinds of interesting paths, and certainly is not what you would expect of an English literature major.
Go ahead.
Isn't it amazing? Like, you go to college and you have this idea of what it is that you're going to do, and then once you actually get out into the real world, like, it's completely different than what you actually kind of envisioned yourself.
You're like,
doing.
This wasn't that. Okay.
Yeah. I actually didn't learn anything of like in college to like where you are now. It kind of was so like irrelevant. I learned how to be a human in college.
Yeah. How to survive.
Right. Like you learned how to do your laundry, and that was huge.
Like how to be a productive member of society is kind of what I learned. But you mentioned hospitality, and we were talking about this earlier, just like hospitality has just nailed it when it comes to experiences, right? Like whether you're going into a hotel or an Airbnb or you're going into a restaurant, like there is a certain threshold of experience that the customer expects or they are delighted by. And when you take that back into marketing and you're writing or selling a product, or you're an agency and you're working with a client, it is I've found like a very hard balance between like infusing the hospitality side and making it an experience, and like also hitting specific deliverables. And the customer is always right, but sometimes they're not, but they are.
Right. Well, how do you make them believe that they're right, even while you're telling them to do something different?
Yes. Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things you really kind of got to read your audience, right? In regards to figuring out like how it is that they're receptive to what you're saying, right? And I think with marketing, that's almost obviously a skill, but I would say more of a talent. It's something you just kind of learn over the years of like, okay, how am I going to get my message to the correct people in the right manner that they're going to digest it and actually utilize it? So
when you did like research, so I love learning about like buyer behaviors and what makes them buy, what makes them click, what makes them read an article. And many times, like we focus on sustainable brands, and I put myself as the customer in the seat of like, what would make me buy this, or what would make me read more? So when you research something, are you literally putting yourself in that customer's seat, or are you diving into like the metric, like where are you finding that research? I think that's a huge lack of. It's an opportunity, but people just don't know how to research or where to even kind of start.
Yeah. So it's funny, in the earlier days of my career, I relied on Reddit tremendously.
Yeah.
Going into Reddit, going to the forums, seeing what folks were talking about. And now I do the same thing, but I use AI to help make sense of those qualitative data and turn it into quantitative data. So I use GummySearch for pretty much everything, which is takes all of that aggregate information and data from Reddit and turns it into data points that you can rely on. And that's Reddit apparently has been the through line of my entire career because I've used it for everything. But I think it's really important to get in those conversations. And one of, I mentioned that when I was at the content marketing company, I kind of created my own role. And the way that I was able to do that was with one specific client where we really kind of cracked the case on their customer base. And they were it was like automobile parts, but like machinery, I guess. Okay. And so I was going not only into Reddit, but I was also going into the comment section of the various YouTube videos and then trying to track down, seeing where they get their information from. Did the people in this industry get their information from videos? Did they get them from newspapers? Did they get them from blogs, newsletters, whatever? And then going into those places and pulling that information and really doing a deep dive. And I remember that the client, when they signed with us, said, the reason we signed with you is because you actually bothered to get to know our audience and you didn't just pitch us something that was just uniform, you know? And I think that's a mistake that a lot of marketing, but also go-to-market teams make is they take one approach and they just kind of try to form fit it. But, you know, depending on the audience, they're not going to resonate as much with a video, or they're not going to resonate as much with a newsletter or a blog or a social campaign or whatever it is. And you owe yourself the diligence of doing that research before you sell them something that's not going to work.
Yeah. Definitely. Chris makes fun of me because I keep bringing up this like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
And it's not like a trend word for me, but it was kind of when you think about an audience space, and I found that a lot of brands, they stick to like, who am I selling to? So if you're selling to a hotel, right? Or you're selling to a restaurant, you think about like, what does that person need? But if you actually skip that end, you skip that buyer and you say, okay, the hotel or the restaurant, in order for them to be successful, they need patrons in that restaurant, or they need people to actually stay at their hotel continually, like all those business travelers to constantly go there. If your company or your brand can speak to like, we can help you be the hero in this, then that buyer that you really want to sign the contract, doesn't even matter the how, because you're already solving that specific need. So I always try to get people to think ahead, like, what does your buyer need in order to be like the hero of their career or their job, or to get that promotion? And like, that's what you need to talk to and solve. So that's awesome that you're a geek when it comes to research.
I mean, geek and other things too, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I love, and I mean that in like the highest honor too.
Yeah, definitely respect. If you saw my office, like I'm definitely a geek. I have all G.I. Joe from when I was a kid, Star Wars when I was a kid. So I'm 45 and I refuse to grow up. So I'm with you. Yeah. The one thing I just want to kind of touch on real quick is that, so Alicia brought up the hierarchy. The one thing that we learned was actually from another individual that we talked to. So that's kind of one of the things we love, is when we talk to people, we learn a lot of new things, right? You made a mention of GummySearch, and I'm very honest, so I'm just going to put it out there. Never heard of it before. I
thought she was going to go a different way when she said gummy. Yeah. Like that was like the fuel for her research.
So
I mean, that's not true.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people. They needed that extra little oomph of enthusiasm. Focus. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about it, because I think one thing that people do when they tune in here is they look for those little nuggets that they can take and they can use in their own lifestyle, right? So tell me a little bit about the search, how it works. Like, I'm always on Reddit as well. I never even knew that there was something that could specifically search Reddit. So dive into it for me a little bit.
Yeah. So GummySearch is an AI. You basically can go in and you can do a couple different things. You can create a search group that takes in all the different communities that you'd be interested in. And then what it'll do is kind of boil up to the top the things that are being talked about and the things that are most interesting to those groups, so that you know topically what they care about. You can also search a query and see how many different Reddit forums pop up with that same question asked. But basically what it does is it takes out the manual work of like, if you've gone into Reddit before and you've searched through threads to find things, instead of doing that, it puts all of that data in one place. So same output as before, but as with all good automation, it just speeds up that efficiency.
Yeah. It's like a superpower. I wish more people viewed AI as a superpower.
It's funny, because of course, managing a lot of teams, and especially managing teams in the last few years of AI being such a hot topic. Like, AI has always been around in some capacity, but I think we all have experience in the last couple of years. It's really, really something a lot of people are focusing on. And the best way that I've been able to get buy-in from my team, and especially from the creatives on my team, because I think a lot of creatives in particular are threatened by AI. Because it does require a certain design eye and a certain writer eye to see the difference. And so there's a lot of fear around that. But I try to always pitch it into my teams as AI is an intern.
Yeah.
Like they're doing the work that you don't want to do. They're doing whatever the design version of getting you a coffee is, or whatever the writer version is of picking up your dry cleaning. Like they're not going to replace you, but they're going to help you, and they're going to take headaches off your plate that you don't want to work with. And if you can't do better than the intern can, then like I have questions.
Yeah.
Right. But I always say like AI is your intern, use them accordingly.
Yeah, that's an awesome way. So you mentioned teams, and you're in Rhode Island, but the company's in Toronto. You manage a team. Everyone has had to work remote in the last several years. Now we're kind of seeing the migration back into the office or not. And so can you dive into like the pros, cons, strengths, weaknesses, like all the pieces of remote work that you've had experience kind of leading and changing, and what do you see with it all?
Yeah.
A loaded question.
A loaded question.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I did do my master's thesis on remote work and building virtual teams. And so some of the research around that, I mean, obviously I've carried that into how I go about managing teams, right. But some of the kind of highlights from what I took from that thesis were, first of all, nonverbal communication is such a huge part of communication. And there's varying degrees of research that say that it's like 93% of communication or 55% of communication, whatever the right number is, there is a ton of nonverbal communication that happens. And it's not just nonverbal in things like, nodding or thumbs up or high-fiving. It's nonverbal in like immediacy cues, just being in the same room as other people. And so when you take that out of the equation, you end up kind of having to figure out like, okay, well, how do I make up for that 55% or 93% or whatever it is percent? But at the same time, you don't want to exhaust people. Mm-hmm. And so the other kind of useful thing that I took away, one of the other useful things from doing that research was the amount of additional energy that is expended on virtual work, and really just like making eye contact with a screen is so much more exhausting.
Yes.
So when you are in person, you can get with, or looking at your hands or taking notes or whatever, and no one's really looking at you saying you're not engaged. But the only way to show that you're engaged in virtual work is to be looking at the screen. And that's so tough, because then all of a sudden, I don't remember the exact number, but again, it was something that was like, you actually spend like only, let's say 50% generously. You only spend 50% of in-person meetings actually engaging with the speaker, like making eye contact with them, whatever. In virtual meetings, if you only looked at the screen 50% of the time, people would say they're not paying attention. They're not involved. Yeah. And so something that I've had to take into managing my teams is, it's okay to be off camera, right? Like it is, it's okay. And I know that every senior leader in the world wants to tell you that you have to be on camera, but it's bad. You're wrong. If there's a company-wide meeting with 300 people in it, there is literally no reason why everyone needs to be on camera, because all it's doing is making them feel like they need to appear engaged, even though it's a meeting where they do not need to be appearing engaged. They can listen, they can take notes, they can do all those things without having to be on camera. Yeah. So that's been like a big part of my philosophy, is like limit the amount of FaceTime people are expected to have. On the other hand, you have to build a community, and that's really tough too. And you don't have the immediacy cues, which are simply things that make you feel close with people. And you don't have the water cooler, right? Yeah. I mean, like the water cooler is such a cliche thing, but it is. You don't have that. The solution isn't create a water cooler channel on Slack. That's not the solution.
I hate Slack because of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to chit chat. I just want to get my stuff done.
just let me work. And by that same token, you're also like, mandatory fun time is the worst thing you can do, right? Like, do not require people to stay after work for a happy hour. That is a virtual happy hour. Like, that is it. And a lot of that is because you are in their homes all the time, right? Like, I work remotely. You guys can see my office right now. That's weird. This is my house. And this is every person that you work remotely with is every day exposing more of themselves than they really are used to ever having to do in a physical office, which already takes a toll on them. So like, you have to take care of work-life balance and work-life boundaries. Specifically, if you want people to be engaged with you on the team, then schedule something during work hours, but still make it optional. Yeah. And I think also just, remembering that people are always working more when they're working from home. Like, there are studies that have said this over and over and over again, right? We are like blue in the face with us explaining how working from home is more productive. But by the same design, then you also need to trust people to do their jobs.
Yeah.
Because they're going to get it done because they're at home, because there's no commute and there's no going into the office. So they're going to get it done, but you have to trust them to get it done. And that's probably where 99% of my philosophy on managing teams boils down to is trust and accountability. You are in people's homes. You are invading their personal space and their personal lives all the time. You owe them the respect of believing that they can do their job without oversight because they're literally at home managing themselves all the time.
I love that you said it takes more energy on like a Zoom call, because I'll have meetings. I'll have like 4 meetings a day and I don't have to commute. So I can get 4 meetings because it's like one meeting goes to the next, go to the next. Like, tell me what real life situation you could get in your car, go to Starbucks, have a meeting, leave that meeting on a specific time without being rude. I was thinking other words, but rude. And then go to the next Starbucks and go meet somebody else and sit down, right? Like it just doesn't happen like that. So, okay, you have 4 meetings a day. By the end of the day, number one, I'm completely talked out. I have no more energy to give my family, but my cheeks freaking hurt from smiling. I don't smile that much, but to make sure.
But you have to be
engaged. Yes, but to make sure that they know that I'm not like answering emails or doing something or like painting my nails outside of like the camera screen, I'm smiling and nodding all the time. You called me, you're like, why are you smiling? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Because I want them to know that I'm interested. But by the end of the day, my cheeks hurt.
I always kind of put it out there, right? Because I agree with the whole note thing, right? Because you want to give your attention, but at the same point in time, like when somebody says something important, you want to kind of write it down. Yeah. So a lot of times when you talk to someone, they keep going. You're like, oh, that's good too. You know, yeah. So it's like you're so busy writing stuff down that you're not making eye contact that a lot of times I'll come right out and say, look, just taking notes on what you're saying is really valuable stuff. Just so they know I'm not checking my email or ordering something off.
Yeah, I feel like I've had to be like very dramatic and being clear on calls that that's what I'm doing. And I will like pick up my note and be like, I'm doing it right now. Like, I'm not on my phone. I'm not distracted. Like, I swear I'm doing something related to this call. But I also, you know, in the conversation of like AI and automation, I feel like the note takers, I'm sure you all have had this experience of the AI note taker joining the call, and like most of your call is an AI note taker.
Yes.
And I don't know what the research is on this, but I have my suspicions that you are not retaining the information from that call as well by having an AI do all of your note taking for you than if you were sitting there doing your own notes.
Yeah. And also, so those note takers, they freak me out because I don't really want it to record. Like I had a client and she called it the BAM session. And every meeting started with a BAM session. It was bitch and moan. So we were going to spend 5 minutes of every meeting BAMing. It sounds terrible. And we're going to get all of that done. Like, oh, my kids missed the bus. My dog ate the slipper. Like my coffee spilled. Like all of those things happen in the first 5 minutes. Then after that, we like get into the agenda and we can like move on with whatever. But I don't need the note taker to record that. I don't need somebody that's not in the meeting to be like, wow, Alicia like fell down the stairs. Her kids like ran to the bus without shoes on and her coffee spilled. Like it just.
You're like, I don't need that to be enshrined in our history.
I don't need people judging me on my meeting notes.
Yeah, I had that experience. We switched over to a new meeting system a few months ago and didn't realize that it had an automatic AI note taker in it. And so I got the transcript after the meeting, and the first thing was, Shannon discussed the difference between Honey Nut Cheerios and regular Cheerios, and and I'm like,
the important stuff.
Yeah,
we didn't need that to be documented. No. Like that doesn't need to be shared with the organization.
And this is why we keep trying to defend that. Like we do a lot of work remote because these friggin' AI note takers are telling us that we're comparing Cheerios.
I swear I got more done than that.
Shannon, honestly, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I'm sorry that the ending, we can't see or hear you.
It's kind of like the ending of like a theater show where they just drop the curtain. It's like, and show's over. So I appreciate everybody for joining in and kind of listening to us. And I'm sure you guys pulled in a bunch of information that you could feel useful within your everyday life or your business life. I'm sure there's people that are watching this that are saying, you know what, I have something that's really interesting that I think others can really utilize. If that is you, please reach out to Alicia and I. We'd love to kind of have you on the show, kind of get to know you a little bit more. As you could see, this is pretty casual. I will be honest with you, Alicia and I have done very well not swearing in this thing, so I'm proud of us there. But like I said, we keep it very, very loose, very, very casual. Really just kind of want to get to know you. So reach out, schedule some time, and hope to see you at some point in time.